Welcome to the Seven Figure Leaders podcast. This podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. And there you'll find the link to apply. Welcome, and today we've got Steve Thornton from Forces Cars Direct, or otherwise known as Motors Source Group. Did I say that right, Steve?
Yeah, that's good. That's absolutely right. Good to be here, Tom.
Good. Well, welcome. Good to have you on as a guest.
Thank you.
Best place to start. Really interesting business. Why don't you give us an overview of who you do, who you are, and who you help?
Yeah, so I'm ex-military, and I served in First Gulf War in 1990, and effectively came back from tour with a load of money in my hand, bought a car, didn't get the service that I wanted. I hate to use the words ripped off, but that's effectively what I felt at the time. And over a period of a few years living in Germany, where I was at the time, I ended up staying in Germany after my tour itself, when I got out of the military. Just by pure chance, I ended up in the car trade. Was not a choice. Didn't like it. Didn't trust anyone in the car trade, and I thought everyone was a shark, to be fair. But circumstances led me to that point, and I was offered an opportunity to work for a company in Germany selling tax-free vehicles to the services that I think we should have given to the members of the service. Effectively, I had the choice to decide how people were treated in the showroom where I was working. So I worked there for 2 or 3 years, became the best salesman across the entire network in Germany. And again, another opportunity came up for me to come back to the UK, and I decided that I wanted to set my own business up, something along the similar lines. And so in 2001, I set that business up with my old boss in Germany, primarily selling cars tax-free to members of the armed forces who were stationed overseas. And that became a really successful program, not just from supplying cars, but also from the UK network, as opposed to parallel grey imports as they were at those times. And 9/11 was 2001, so there was obviously a big dynamical change at that. And what we ended up doing is that we diversified from just supplying tax-free vehicles to diplomats, US forces and British forces, to effectively all UK military forces, serving and ex-military. And then in 2010, we expanded that to our Motor Source Group, which effectively does the same thing to prison, the fire, police, NHS, and teachers, and essentially offering a discount to a group of customers who we deserve and feel deserve something a little bit better than someone who works at Pizza Hut or Boots, for instance, as a discount. And we've been doing that since 2001. And we sold over 40,000 cars and saved over 200 million now. I think it's the number we've broken through.
And so, what is the benefit? So, why do those people get a tax break? Is it a publicly known tax break that they get, or kind of what's the model here?
Sure. Well, effectively, if you're stationed overseas, there's a tax break plus any other margins that we've created for that customer base. If you're based in the UK or you're an NHS or a police officer and so on, you can't save the VAT on the car. Everyone has to pay VAT. But we have recognized that particular marketplace, customers who are, shall we say, doing a different job, a public sector worker job, and not getting paid really that well compared to someone in the private sector. So we felt that those people who were being shot at and stabbed and spat on during everyday working life deserve something different. And so we created that program and platform back in 2001, and is elevated into where it is today for that sector. And giving back, I think, to those communities are great. And one of the reasons I did that was because my uncle was a headmaster, my cousin's a detective sergeant, got someone who's a nurse, I've got someone who's a surgeon, and I was always hearing these stories of where they were treated, where they were spoken to, where they were looked after or not looked after. And we did have, some strange incidences where a teacher was stabbed in Leeds, and nurses being stabbed at A&E, and police officers being ambushed and so on. And for me, I felt that this community needed to be recognized a lot better than it was. Ultimately, we had military customers who were also leaving the military after their tour of duty and then joining the fire service and the police. So we were still quite close to those communities.
Yeah. And so, business model wise, where does that margin come from? How are you able to give them X benefits? Does that come off your margin, or have you got to deal with the car suppliers?
So effectively, without giving away secrets, we have a margin as a business that we obviously will give a discount towards the customer base. And that's something that we've negotiated, something that we've promoted across the last 25 years of doing business. And I've always felt that the customer deserves more, and the customer deserves a better slice of the action. It is something that is only exclusively available for us, and it's a program that we're very, very proud of to give back.
Yeah, brilliant. So there's no one else doing what you're doing in the UK.
There are people who are trying to do things like us, but I'm sure if you walk into a dealer, someone will say they'll give a military discount, but the reality is it's not what we do. It's something very, very similar. It's similar in discount, but not the amount of discount is what I'm saying, from that side. So we are unique in a way, but it doesn't mean that we sit back on our laurels and think that that's all it is. We're constantly striving forward to give more and to give better. We've got customers who have been with us for 24 years who bought 15, 20 cars with us. So I think the most important thing for me is I was that customer. I understood what it was to be treated and respected. And so we've always had that feeling, whether you're a private, whether you're a general, whether you're a diplomat, or whether you're a nurse or a surgeon. We make sure that everyone is treated exactly the same. And there's no differentiation in price either. Everyone gets the same program if you're eligible for that specific program, which I've not seen in other places, if I'm brutally honest.
Sounds like a really great initiative. And so, how do you find your clients?
We do a lot of things. We have partnerships. We have 140 partnerships that we've built over the past 25 years. We work directly closely with the MOD, the bases, the trusts, Google, and obviously our customers ourselves. I think the most important thing is our customers. Most of our business comes from people who have bought from us or telling their colleagues about what we do from that side. We don't stick to just one franchise. We sell every franchise that is available for a program. So whether it's the new Chinese brands that came through last year, or whether it's traditionally Audis and other brands that have been around for 20 years, everyone deserves, we believe, something for that community, and where that conduit to get them to that. And we handle every facet of that program for them.
Mhm. Wow, amazing. And so, switching gears and talking more about your business.
Mhm.
So you mentioned you founded it, I think you said 2002, around then?
2001, yeah.
2001. You've grown it to what, 15, 16 employees full time
Yeah.
today?
Yeah.
What's the journey you've been on to get there now?
Wow. It's a great journey, because when I set up, I was the sales part of that, and my business partner was, because he ran a business in Germany, knew everything else back end, paperwork, bookkeeping, and so on. And he effectively did all of that for the first 10 years. And so for me, I found it a big struggle living in the UK on my own, setting up a business and not really knowing what to do.
Yeah.
I found it a big struggle to manage people. So in the first 4 or 5 years, the people that we had in the business, I had a certain way of doing things. They never were able to grow. They were able to make mistakes without me on their back. And I did struggle with that. And I found that very difficult to just relinquish some of the reins and get some other people in the roles that they were good at and I wasn't good at. So that was a real challenge, I think. And I think I went through a few years and a few employees that maybe were good, that I didn't want to leave. Having said that, though, we've got 4 employees here. That's one who's been with me for 22 years out of the 25 we've been doing it. One 20 years and one 19 years. So we have learned very quickly, or I've learned very quickly, how to manage people, and certainly to get the right people in the right job role and allow them, I think, to make mistakes. Everyone has to make mistakes in order to learn. And I had to be that person myself to make those mistakes in order for me to learn as well. However good a salesman I think I am, there's still ways to learn, I think, with everybody in a business, no matter where you are.
Mm. And is it you who does the sales still today?
I don't do sales anymore. No, I'm more the vision, the direction, and the I'm more the overseer of everything. And now the business is run by all of the managers that are in the business effectively. I'm still in it day to day. I'm still here every day. I still allow them to do what they want. They report to me, but effectively I let them handle their teams of admin or their teams of sales and their teams of marketing. So quite frankly, there's a lot that I don't know how things work. But that's how I like it. The team has to be robust and run without me effectively in the day-to-day running of it, other than the vision and the direction and the passion at the top, where I think a leader should be.
Yeah. And have you grown completely organically through that process? And so,
Yes.
yeah, no money raised externally.
No money raised, all private money. Private money. I guess it's our own money,
Right.
effectively, from that side of things. And we never really felt there was a need to take money in from other sources to grow the business. Our business is a very, very small portion of customers in the UK, and we have access to that entire network. Yes, we can always do more business, 100%. I'm not suggesting we can't grow, but I didn't feel that we needed to bring on investors or anything at that particular point. There was always going to be a point where I'd buy out my investor. That happened February this year. We've now had a record year, which is fantastic. I'd like to take credit for that, but reality is I think it probably would have happened anyway, just based on certain metrics that we put in place from that side. So while there is opportunity for the future, I don't think I'll be rushing out and thinking about it just this year, just this point of time.
Mhm. And so, building on that, so what you've built or what you described to me there, with you not being involved in the day to day of the sales or the operations or any of that, but more overseeing it, that's a really desirable position to be in
Yeah,
uh, for many business owners who spending a long time being, and this is probably 15 years ago, being stuck in the weeds and not really seeing a way out of it. But then
yeah.
over time, being able to hire and then delegate and then step back from it. So perhaps you can elaborate a bit on how you actually did that.
Yeah, so there was a point. I remember my business partner once saying to me back in the beginning, the first 2 or 3 years, "You need someone to help you with sales. You need someone to help you with admin." And I said, "I know it all in my head." And he says, "Well, what if you're sick? What if you want to go on holiday?" I don't want to go on holiday. Like most owners and entrepreneurs, you want to live it, breathe it 24/7, 7 days a week. But there had to be a point where I had to let someone go. And the point where I realized is when I walked into the office, I had four admin, I had four sales at that point. So there was nine of us in total. And I walked in and every one of them was on the phone. And I realized then I can't answer nine phone calls at once. That was the moment that I realized also that I couldn't be the person of on someone's back, what's happening with this, what's happening with that. And I had to get myself, I had to use your term in the weeds, I would say trenches being military. So to get out of the trenches and actually look from above was something that I had to do and oversee everything. And not by micromanaging it, by understanding everything. And I don't know everything about marketing. I don't have a marketing degree. I know how it works and I know what I do and I know my numbers from that. But in the end, I couldn't design an advert for toffee. So I think you have to, and I'm not good at spreadsheets. I just hate spreadsheets and I hate HR and I hate all those things. So I think you have to have other people in leadership roles that you 100% trust and 100% can allow them to grow, whether it's monetary, whether it's title, that's up to the individual person. But for me, you have to have that person grow. But if you don't realize it yourself, and I see it with people I know who run businesses, and they were me, 15 years ago, effectively, no, I want to do it all. I want to do this, and I'll never get time for myself. I think that's a cop out. Anyone who says in business that they don't have time to do something and that they're working 18, 19 hours a day, to me, is they're not managing their time properly. A good manager, as my wife would tell me, he says, "You just delegate everything to everybody." And I said, "That's what a good manager does."
Yeah.
It's not because I don't do anything. It's because you want that system in place. So if something happens and you're not there, it still runs perfectly. So it does give me some sense of freedom, effectively, to sharpen my mind on the points that do matter, the numbers and the processes and all of those things. They're the things that I'm looking at, and not necessarily in the reads selling a car. And when I do listen to the sales team and I walk around and do hear what's going on, I often think, is he going to say this next? Because that's what I would say, and they often do. So I don't miss it. Actually quite love it, that someone's taken on board those things that we train them to do, and I think that's typical of some businesses that will go from 4, 5, or 6, or 7 people, and then jump up to the 15s, the 20s, and possibly more than that. I don't have the experience in a huge business, so I can only give you my example of my business.
Yeah. No, but that's brilliant. And yeah, I completely agree with what you're saying about delegating. If you don't delegate, then it it all
I
stays
don't
up.
think you can grow.
No.
I don't think you can grow if you don't delegate. I'm not a business where it's a warehouse. I'm selling products online and I never talk to a customer. And I'm just putting a website out there selling toothpaste or whatever it is. I think you have to have that sense. Personally for me, I don't like the work from home thing, because we went through the COVID and we follow the processes of what it is. But to be in an office with 18 people, the buzz that you have and the energy that you have with everybody there works for us as a business. And if you're talking to a dealer, a specific supplier, or whatever it is, the last thing that dealer and supplier wants is to take 5 phone calls in a row from 5 people at home who are remote, who don't get the answer that they've just heard from the office. So that office can talk and give that message out as opposed to someone else. So I like the fact that we have a buzz, and I'm still quite closely connected to the admin, the sales, and the marketing. I like that, if I'm honest. Although I don't get involved in the day to day.
And so obviously this podcast is for other business owners. So who in this audience might be able to help you? So like what sort of introductions are you looking for? Who might be able to help you grow your business? Who might you be able to help in return?
Ooh, I don't know who I can help in return, but I guess that's for other people to decide listening to the podcast whether I have an interesting dynamic to say. I think that I like technology. I am a unique business. I have something that is very, very different to anybody else. I'm not an online seller of products. I'm not doing that. I tell you what I am interested in, but don't understand, is AI. Now, I don't know whether AI is going to be relevant or possible or can help us as a business. It could be very similar to people just saying, I can get you number one on Google SEO. So I think that that's replaced people saying they can get people on Google SEO to now people saying that I'm an AI company and I can get you the best things in the world. So I don't know. I like to understand things that I don't understand. I'm always willing to learn and to find new dynamics, um, whether that's AI or something else. But I think at the moment, I've consolidated what I've done. We've done really well with the business to streamline things, get processes working in the past year, and grow the business as we have. But never ever let those reins go on the business. I did that about 15 years ago, where I slowed up and thought, this is great, I'm doing everything. By the time I realized I hadn't, you have to turn that tanker. It takes a long way to get back to where you were. So I've always maintained since that point to always, take some time out and just reflect and look at the business as a blank sheet of paper and start from scratch. And I often do that just to see if I can find bits and bobs that haven't missed, or things that have not followed its right route, on that side. But I know absolutely nothing about. I'm not a TikToker. I'm not interested. I don't go on Facebook. Not interested in that at all. I stay off social media completely. For me, the business, the employees, and my customers are the 3 most important things for me.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, Steve. Well, thank you very much for being a guest. It's been a pleasure to have you. And we'll make it very easy for anyone to contact you. We'll put your website and LinkedIn profile in the show notes. So anyone who does want to reach out to Steve, feel free to do so. So that's Steve Thornton, Horses Cars Direct.
Thank you very much, Tom. It was really good to meet you today, and I appreciate your time.
Thanks for listening. As I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, this podcast was created to celebrate the success stories of seven-figure business owners, giving them a platform to share their insights and lessons learned in order to inspire other business owners. As well as that, it's an opportunity to build new connections. So if you're a seven-figure business owner or someone who works with seven-figure business owners and you're looking for introductions to potential stakeholders, strategic partners and clients, I'd love to hear from you or have you on as a guest and see if I can help make those connections for you. Just go to synergycfosolutions.co. That's synergycfosolutions.co and click podcast. On that page, you'll find the link to apply.